The Joe Rogan Experience.
I always want. I try to ask this to as many musicians as possible. But how do you guys create music? Do you write stuff out and then come to the band? Do some of the guys bring their own ideas for a beat or for a concept? Or
well, I like the randomness of it all, and again, I love collaboration. I've never done anything just me all by myself. That doesn't. There are times when you make a request of people you play with where you're like, I hear all of this. Can we just try that first? And I like to do that when someone says that in return. If they're like, sometimes you hear everything all at once, and that is a gift, and you kind of don't want to mess with that. You want to at least start from that point, because if someone does have an idea, at least they're starting from understanding how this is. And so their idea, if they have one, is rooted in this instead of being kind of arbitrary, Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then, but it's great to hear that and also be asked to kind of be a soldier sometimes. Sure, I'll play boom, 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 boom,
right.
boom, 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 because I'd love to hear all these puzzle pieces together too.
Right.
But it also,
so you respect their idea, their vision, whatever it is, and you're just trying to help them realize it?
Yeah, sometimes it's like that, and sometimes I'm requesting that, and there's a way to communicate that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And you should, because it's a shame to be misunderstood in that moment, when really what you're saying is, oh my God, I have this idea. Can we try it just like this for a start? And once you're immersed in this understanding, your ideas to better it will be based in understanding this.
You guys are very unique in that you don't sound like anybody else.
But that's the point.
Yeah, it is the point.
That in fact, I always looked at that like, well, that's the minimum obligation, right? Is to not,
not sound like other folks.
Yeah, and the men without hats too. It's like, what's the point? You already have that.
If you want to.
I love that song.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it's great because it's sort of a challenge.
Yeah.
You can leave your friends behind.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck? Why would it?
If they don't dance, they're no friends of mine.
Yeah, like it's sort of like drawing a dance line in the sand. It's a great song.
It is.
But also those are the kind of two ends of the spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. Hearing someone's honestly and explaining yours honestly and asking for help to do that.
Well, your stuff is not just unique; it's unique in itself. Like your songs are different. Each song is different than the other song. There's not There's not like a Queens of the Stone Age sound.
Well, I think there's a band called Ween that I love so much, and early on, my first band Caius that was trying to sound like itself but singularly. Mm-hmm. And I was feeling painted in a corner a little bit by the fact that it had to be in this mode. And we toured with this band Ween who would play anything. Do you know who they are?
Sure, yeah.
They're so brilliant. And they'd play, Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony? Where you're like, what? What the fuck is that about? And then they'd play Riders on the Storm for 28 minutes. Wow. And it was fucking incredible. And they'd never sound checked it. You're like, you just know this? and what they were was free. They said, and then they did a country record with all these professional hired gun country,
wow.
and it sounded incredible because they were like, because we can do that. Why can't we?
Yeah.
That manifesting what you love, period. And so I just, from being around them and seeing things like that, and then starting this Desert Sessions project, which is what I just put out recently, where it's just collaboration and it could be anything. Because it's not all you, but yet it's you. And so that's how Queen started, was like, what if you just played anything you thought was good, no matter what it was, and you let every song. I had a friend of mine once say to me, not every song can be your best. And I just looked at him and I was like, why? What? What is that? Why is that? I don't even know why that has to be a possibility. Why not?
Yeah.
What if you see through to those spinning locks through to the other side, and a song could go there, you should take it there, right? I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. And it's a weird pessimistic attitude, isn't it? Like, not every song can be your best.
And it was like, oh, I see you're talking about. Are you talking about yours?
Talking about yours.
Yeah, I see.
Do you remember how before the internet, like, there was a lot of bands that would put out like a few hits on an album, but then the rest of the album would almost feel like filler?
I again, that's another thing where it seemed to me at one point in my hope was that, okay, in the spirit of trying to do something different, I call it on supply, on demand. You know it's out there because it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
What's not out there that would be interesting to hear? Tell me what you don't think we need, and let's start there, right? For just trying to fill in the gaps and beautifully fill in the gaps of what's not represented. And thereby having this limitless ability to play whatever you thought was right in the moment, as long as it was honest, then you'd be fine, you know? And so that's always been, I feel like it would be fun to try that. So that's why it so jumps around stylistically. But I do think people listen to whatever they think is good, and they don't care about genre. Unless you're a teenager, when that's important to you, or that certainly was to me. Why is genre important? That seems like if you work at a record store, it's important because you're filing these under, like, you know, nose flute in the key of F.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about genre. I give a fuck about good. I mean, I listen to country.
You have a
I
taste
listen to
vein,
metal.
and if something runs over it with its truck tire, you go, "Hey, fuck, I'm
that's
in."
Good. Yeah,
I'd love to lick that again.
Well, it's, you know, I like a song where you can tell the band made something that they like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, this is another thing early on when we left the desert in my first band, Caius, and we were so proud. Like, we knew we sounded different, and we thought, this is cool. And so you make records you love, and you listen to them all the time because it's like, you're supposed to make your favorite music. I mean, I was 15 years old. What else was I supposed to make? I can't wait to make the music I hate the most. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
Right. I just want to do weddings.
So you tour with these bands, and you're like, do you guys listen to your records? Because we would be in the car on tour listening to our records and then play our records. And they'd be like, fucking hate that thing. And I'd be like, no. I said, do you listen to your own music? Like, I couldn't understand.
Right.
What's wrong with playing your favorite thing you always wanted to play, but it's not out there, so you create it. It seems like that's the job, actually. You know? And how can you love my stuff if I don't?
Right.
What are the fucking chances? Like 0.0 is.
Well, it would be such a prison. Imagine if you created a genre that was super popular and people really loved it, but you fucking hated it.
I did. My first band, there was this really wonderful thing happened. The fans took over and they own it because we stopped. And so they took it over. The fans kept it alive. And some people gave it a name, Stoner Rock. But to me, Stoner Rock was like Ozzy when I was a kid, like the Ozzy baseball shirts.
Sure.
I wanted to be a punk rocker, and it's like, those stoners over there, you know. And so Stoner Rock, I was like, no. And plus, I don't want to wear that. I can appreciate anything that I like, so we don't need to call it anything, because I'll just like whatever I like.
Right.
You know, you could call it Jazz Rabbit. That's the style of music, and be like, fucking fantastic, but I just like what I like in that anyways.
Yeah, it's just a noise you're making to
with your face.
Define it.
Yeah. It's Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that style, actually. It's like,
exactly.
Who cares?
Right.
Like, I like what I like, and you know, you get flack for that stuff, for not, like, no, sit here, wear this. And I understand, too, because it's good to feel part of something.